Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teele. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teele, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
And welcome, everyone, to Caregiver Solutions Info Show. I'm so happy that you could join us, whether you are listening in your car, at home, on the local radio here in South Florida, or whether you're joining us from your smartphone or your computer on the website, caregiversolutions.info. I'm glad that you're here and you've tuned in because we have another wonderful show for you today. So if you have a question, if you have a topic you'd like to be addressed, you can just shoot me an email and let me know. My email address is delray@arden-courts.com. Again, delray@arden-courts.com. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to listen to what you have to say and present that to you on the show because we get a lot of questions and we get a lot of suggestions. And so I'd love to hear from you as a caregiver. And if you know someone who is a caregiver and they don't know about the show, please share that with them because we are live every Tuesday here from Boca Raton, Florida, and this is the show for you, the family caregiver. If you're dealing with topics of relating to Alzheimer's, dementia, caring for someone that is suffering from Alzheimer's, dementia, or a caregiver in a different way, this show is actually good for you because we cover a lot of topics and it might not be specific to your situation, but it's going to be specific to caregiving. And we ask the questions so you get the answers. We have wonderful experts in the field that come onto the program and share their expertise. And even if you pick up one little thing that's going to help you in your caregiving efforts, it's going to be great. It's going to help you along that journey because as you know and we know, caregiving is not easy. Matter of fact, it's probably one of the hardest things that you'll ever do in your lifetime. So before we get started today, speaking of caregiving, I'd like to offer you this free book. Our national sponsor is Arden Courts Memory Care Community. They have about 52 Arden Courts all across the United States. 10 of them are here in Florida. And they want to give you, the family caregiver, educational tools and resources to help you. They actually take care of your loved one that has dementia by giving them a safe, happy environment to make them feel productive, give them self-esteem, and improve their quality of life when caregiving can't be done at home any longer. But in the meantime, if you don't have this book, it's called The 36-Hour Day. We would like to offer this to you just by giving us a call, and you can call Arden Courts toll-free number. That number is 888-478-2410. Give them a call, tell them you heard about this on the Caregiver Solutions show, and they'll be happy to mail you a copy. This book is actually in its 5th edition right now, which means it's been around for quite a long time, and it's very popular because it's so good. And you will find definitions in here about different kinds of dementia, the differences between an Alzheimer's dementia, Lewy body's dementia, a frontal temporal lobe dementia, a vascular dementia. It also gives lots of tips, and it gives a lot of good information about the brain, and for family caregivers, it's a very wonderful tool that you'll want to have in your own library. So again, call Arden Courts at 888-478-2410, and they'll be happy to mail this book to you. I also have a couple announcements for those of you in the South Florida listening area. We are always promoting Alzheimer's fundraising because we want to find a cure. It would be wonderful to have a cure for Alzheimer's, and the only way to do that is with funding from people that we can promote a lot of research. We can promote the pharmaceutical companies to continue to strive, all of the local research companies that we have in South Florida and all across the nation. They are working very hard to put an end to Alzheimer's. As a matter of fact, the Walk to End Alzheimer's is the theme for the Alzheimer's Association across the United States. And here in South Florida, we have several walks coming up. As a matter of fact, the Boca Raton Walk is this Sunday, September 25th, at Meisner Park Amphitheater in Boca Raton. Then in the Treasure Coast, that's coming up on October 1st. In West Palm Beach area, it's on Saturday, October 8th. And there's also one in Broward County and in Miami-Dade County. If you haven't signed up for this, you can do so by going to alz.org, alz.org/walk. And go on to the website, find out how you can be a participant, and you can walk to help end Alzheimer's. And have a friend walk with you, because walking is a great way to exercise, and we want to keep exercising to stimulate our brain and get that oxygen to our brains, because the more we move, the better off we're going to be. So I would encourage you to go walk to end Alzheimer's in a organization that's near you. There's plenty all across the United States, and if you're not listening to us in South Florida and you're somewhere else, go to the website alz.org for the national listing of all the walks, and hopefully you'll find one in your area. Also, tomorrow, which is Wednesday the 21st, at Arden Courts Memory Care Community in Delray Beach, there's a free seminar. It's called The Risk of Wandering, Lost on Foot. As you may know, here in Florida, they have the Florida Silver Alert program. So if a person gets in a car that has dementia and they take off and they get lost in the car, the Silver Alert program goes into effect. And you'll see that when you're driving up or down I-95. Well, to extend that a little bit further, now there's Lost on Foot. Lost on foot is when someone leaves their home, they're wandering. Someone that has Alzheimer's, has some form of dementia, 60% of them will at some point wander off from home. No matter how careful you are about keeping them safe, they will find a way to go if they want to go. So we never want to take that chance, and we always want to be prepared. So this seminar is to help you to understand how to be prepared, how to prevent wandering of a loved one from your home, and if they do get out and wander, it's going to share with you the basics about what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and how to be prepared so that you won't be in a panic, and you'll have all the information at your fingertips. And the police, the sheriff's department here in South Florida, will also have all the information they need at their fingertips to go ahead and start that search and find that person lost on foot. So if you'd like to attend, there's still room. It's from 10:30 to 12 o'clock noon tomorrow, September 21st, at Arden Courts of Delray, and that is located at Jog and Linton in Delray Beach. You can call the number at the office, 498-5552, for more information. If you'd like to come and be our guest, it's free, there's no obligation, and you can also bring your loved one who is at home and you don't want to leave at home alone for fear of being lost on foot. And if you let us know, we'll make plans to have your loved one come and have a little good time with our residents, and you can get your information and your loved one can have a little respite and you can have a little respite, and all will be good for an hour and a half so that you both can enjoy some time. So please take advantage of this. Matter of fact, all the Arden Courts across the country, they have free educational seminars for caregivers. Again, Arden Courts is a leader in the field of dementia and Alzheimer's for assisted living, and they are a safe environment where your loved one can flourish, and we want the caregivers to flourish also. So take advantage of these educational opportunities, the support groups that are offered, and be prepared. So even if this never happens to you, and I hope it doesn't, you'll be prepared and you'll know what to do. So that being said, I'm very excited today because we're going to have another wonderful couple guests on the show, and you'll want to listen in very carefully because we're going to be talking about family mediation and what that means, when you might need it, the circumstances that occur that might cause you to need it. So it's going to be very interesting, and it's going to save a lot of money in the long run by using a mediator. And we're going to talk about that and what that means. So get a pen, get a pencil, stay tuned. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, you'll meet our experts. We'll be right back.
Arden Courts is not...
Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know, we understand, we can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help.
Back to Caregiver Solutions.
Arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity.
And welcome back to Caregiver Solutions Info Show. And we are here to provide information and good advice to caregivers dealing with caregiving issues and trials. And hopefully you'll be able to pick up a little tip and a tidbit here or there. So today we're talking about family mediation. And with me today from the Elder Care Mediations Company is two wonderful women that I'm very excited to introduce to you. So we have Suzanne Hale over here, and over here we have Tina Scott-Polsky. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us, Marcia.
Thank you.
I'm so happy that you're here. I've been waiting a long time. We scheduled you a long time ago. I know you're very busy, which leads me to believe that there are a lot of people that need mediation because you all are so busy. But before we get into that, I want to give a little bit about the backgrounds of the two of you. And I know that, Tina, you have a background as an attorney for many years, 20-some years, correct?
It's been a while.
It's been a while, okay. And now you're a full-time mediator.
That's correct.
And Suzanne, same with you. You've been doing family mediation for a while. And now you both have joined forces and have actually organized elder care mediations. So tell me and tell us exactly, what does that mean? What is elder care mediation mean?
Okay, so because you brought up because the base of the show, caregivers, especially for people with Alzheimer's or dementia, it creates such a difficult time in the family. We know how hard it is on the caregiver, the stress that's involved. And if the whole family is not on board with the decisions that the caregiver needs to make, or they're having trouble dealing with what in this instance, the Alzheimer patient, the elder, we'll call it, is going through, it can create so much more stress than the situation already is so problematic. So add on top of that you're, for example, if you're the husband of your long-term wife, the mother of your children, who is suffering from Alzheimer's, and your children are not getting along, and they're fighting over whether or not mom should be in a nursing home, and dad really wants her to stay home, and the brother who lives far away is trying to dictate how everyone is going to behave, it can create such problems in the family. So we've seen in our own lives and our clients and out in the world that there are so many families who eventually break apart over decisions for the care of the elder. And what we're trying to do is help families negotiate, mediate, reconcile, figure out how to move forward so decisions that need to be made can be made, and the family can get along and move along and continue to love and care for the elder. And when eventually, as we all pass, and the elder passes and the caregiver passes, the family unit stays intact, and your wonderful children still love each other, and the family has stayed together. And that is our hope.
Wow. That was a lot. And if that's your goal, then God bless, because that is a big job. I mean, you just told me a fairy tale, and I hope that the fairy tale comes true, because seriously, I deal with families every single day, and not every family disagrees, but so many of them do, and I deal with that on almost a daily basis, for sure a weekly basis, where exactly what you talked about, where two adult children, you have a daughter and a son, and they disagree what dad is going to do or what mom's going to do, and it causes strife, and it causes a lot of heartache and arguments, and there's a lot of emotions that go into that. And so you're right on with what happens, and if you can get that family unit to agree and make things smooth, then that would be a fairy tale unit, a fairy tale outcome, which is better for everybody.
Absolutely. So if the caregivers who are listening to this show, if your family's getting along and they're helping and supporting you, that is wonderful. But of course, there are many who do not. Mm-hmm. And so what we want to let the audience know is that there's an option out there for you, that you can get some outside help. What I like to say is we're somewhere between going to an attorney and going to a social worker or therapy. We're like halfway between that. So we understand all the legal nuances that go on with potential problems within the family. We understand, we're not therapists, we don't pretend to be, but we understand a lot of the psychological issues that go with that. What we're trying to do is in a mediation session, and by the way, mediation just means that parties get together who are in a dispute and they try to resolve the problem before it goes any further.
Sort of like a divorce, right?
It is a divorce, and some people call it a family divorce as opposed to a couple divorce, but what we're trying to do is prevent the divorce as opposed to seeing the divorce through. And Suzanne does family law mediation on her own, and that's what she has to do is, once they decide to divorce, then how do you divide everything up? What we're trying to do is keep the family together so they don't have to do that, because decisions have got to be made. And at one point there was love in the family. We want to try to restore that. So mediation, the audience has probably heard the term when there's an actual lawsuit, and it occurs in any kind of commercial situation, two partners breaking up in a business, for example, or a personal injury situation where you slip and fall and you sue the supermarket.
Right.
So when there's a trial on the line and you've gone to lawyers, then parties are required to go to mediation in Florida, and it's very, very commonplace. And many times the case gets settled. And when it gets settled, money exchanges hands and the case is over. And that's good news for everyone, except that in the mediation itself, there's a compromise that has to be made. And with that, it's just about money. So now we're expanding it to family disputes. So it's not that there's necessarily a legal issue. There may be a legal issue underlying it. Someone might say, I'm going to sue for guardianship, or I think that my brother is stealing from my mother who he's living with, so I think there's some kind of fraud going on. If you take it to the legal extreme, it becomes very, very expensive and very difficult to navigate, and the family really will suffer as a result of that. So this is maybe prior to anyone thinking that there's a legal element involved. And we can take any issue that the family is dealing with, whether it be driving, living arrangements, financial difficulties, who's going to take mom to the doctor, anything along those lines, anything at all, real estate sale, whatever is going on in the family that's causing a problem, we do a formal mediation where the parties, for example, the siblings, the mom, the dad, whoever is capable of being there, it comes there. We try to work out a resolution to the problem, but the parties themselves, they're the ones who figure it out. And so it can be much more effective if we come to a resolution because they're the ones who designed it themselves with help from us trying to narrow the issues and getting them to a place of compromise. And so that's kind of how the mediation goes. In addition to the actual day of mediation, we do a lot of preparation work, and given the permission from the parties, we can speak to medical professionals, we can speak to financial professionals to see what's going on in the background, and try to help navigate all the situations.
Right.
We have a lot of understanding of various resources and options that are out there.
That's good.
To help provide. So, like, for example, if driving is an issue, let's say we're talking...
Which is a biggie.
Right, so we're talking about, say, early stages
Since we just talked about the silver alert and lost on foot, and somebody shouldn't be driving anymore, and then you've got somebody else in the family that says, wait, you're not taking away Dad's rights. He has a right to drive. And somebody else says, yeah, but what if he, forgets where he's at and he has an accident and he kills somebody because he doesn't recognize a red light anymore? So that's very common.
Right, so I guess in the earlier stages of dementia where there's still a car involved, this is just a small example of something that we can work out as part of the mediation. It would be very hard for example, for an adult child to say to the parent, I'm taking away your keys.
Right.
You could see where the fights would happen and the respect problem and independence problem. So if we're in a mediation situation and it can come from us and we can say, well, how is your driving? And I heard that there was a ticket or something of the small accident. What if it got worse? Maybe they would hear it from us, and it would be easier.
A neutral party.
Neutral party.
Right.
Or you can be the bad guys.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we, because of our education in the field, we can offer resources that we know of, and if they know that that's an option, it can make swallowing the decision so much easier sometimes. So that's just a small example of some of the things that we can talk about. So the preparation work, the actual day of mediation and follow-up, and that's really what it is. That's why it's different from family therapy, for example. We're not, an extended period of time working out the problems. We're really like get in, get out.
So you have a specific goal.
Exactly.
Right? You have a specific problem and you have a specific goal.
Or maybe more than one problem, but we try to come in with all the information so that we can do the mediation in one day and walk out of there with a solution.
Wow, in one day. I mean, that's usually
because we do preparation first.
Okay. Hopefully.
Caregiver might not be able to be gone longer than, a few hours anyway.
Correct.
So.
And a day could mean a few hours or it could mean a few more hours, depending upon.
But we're going in with, we have a lot of background when we come in, and we have a lot of options that we can offer up. And as I said, the neutral party thing, when we bring that out, they're hearing it differently when it comes from us, and rather than when their son suggests it, or their daughter, or or the stepmother, or that kind of thing. It comes, from us. It's a little different.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think that you've been doing this a long time? Why do you think that it is different coming from somebody else? Because I hear that maybe the other family members have hidden agendas, and maybe they have ulterior motives, and people don't trust each other in a family. Is that the case?
Right. Well, first of all, when we get the background information, sometimes we find out that some of the things they're fighting about aren't even options.
Like what? What do you mean?
Well, things like, we should move mom to, a nursing facility or that kind of. Mom doesn't have the money to move to a nursing facility, so that's not even an option. So different things like that.
So you kind of bring people back to reality. It sounds like we get you settle down the emotions, throws the facts in there.
Right. And they don't want to hear it otherwise, and they might not have access to the parents' financial records or something like that, whereas they've given us the option to look at that stuff so that we can come in and be knowledgeable and bring all these options to them. But I also think of it very often kind of like a teenager. Teenagers never think their parents know anything.
Right.
But then when they talk to another adult, suddenly that person is brilliant. So, when we're coming in as the neutral party, we know a lot more than their child, who really knew exactly the same thing, but they're not listening because it's still their child.
And Marcia, when you said about ulterior motives, I think kind of sibling rivalry comes into play there. And many times what we've seen is there is a sibling that lives here in Florida and one that lives far away. It's so common in South Florida for whatever reason, the geography here. So the one who lives here might we in fact just heard a story about a 60-year-old who still lived on the couch of the mom. People who just haven't gotten their act together and aren't as successful and rely on the financial beneficence of the elder, for example. And so the brother in California is trying to tell them what to do, but the child who's here, adult child, has an ulterior motive, wanting to stay in the home. He has a place to live.
Free place to live.
Exactly. So the brother in California will say, who happens to be a doctor, says, Mom needs to be in a nursing home. She's going to slip and fall. You're not going to be there. And the son who lives at home with her says, no, she's perfectly fine. She says she doesn't want to. And he's living with the mom. So the mom might be talking to the other child and not really sure what she wants, or she's being maybe unduly influenced by the brother who lives here. And so that's where
influenced by the doctor's son, because
Right.
doctors, they know more than anybody else.
You'd be surprised that, when the children aren't in the room, the things that we get from the parents, and then when the kids come back into the room, they, pretend I didn't really say that. Because they don't want to offend, and
and they want the peace so much.
Right,
they hate
do.
to see the children fight.
And there's also all the stuff that came from their childhood. They're still fighting over the tricycle, that the older brother took, and things like that. And we don't allow
Or
that.
mom
into
liked you best.
Yes.
Exactly, but we don't allow that into the mediation room. So we're kind of that party that can keep everyone, make sure everybody's been heard, and then keeping all that other stuff out, because our goal is to make sure that the aging parent is being taken care
Wow,
of.
no wonder you all have such big shoulders, because that is a lot of weight to carry. I mean, you're carrying all of this stuff, all these issues and problems and stuff, and the weight is on you, to come up with the answer,
important thing,
getting them to
yes,
agree.
that's the important thing.
Right.
The distinction is
I mean, you
getting
don't make
them.
the decision.
Right,
I know
exactly.
they do, but
Right.
that's a lot,
It's a lot of guiding and
But when it's
Yeah.
done, it feels so good, because
Yeah.
what's better than family,
That's true. I would probably say that not everybody's going to be 100% happy with the outcome, because, like you
No.
said, there are compromises.
Yes.
Tina always says that.
a good mediation is one where everyone leaves unhappy.
Everyone leaves unhappy.
Yeah,
Is
because
it good
that means
mediation?
everybody has a compromise.
Somebody paid
Okay.
too much in a financial situation. Someone paid too much. The other person didn't get as much as they wanted, but it's over.
Right.
So that's just kind of a cliche that goes with
Everybody
mediation.
has to,
but
right. Everyone has to
give in.
compromise.
Yeah.
At some, one way or another.
Right, because if otherwise someone walks out, ha ha ha, I won,
Right.
type
And
of
that
thing.
rarely happens.
Right.
And it's not, this isn't a win-lose situation like a judge would decide in a court.
Mm-hmm.
This is a compromise, and what we call the end result is an action plan. So sometimes it'll say, let's say both siblings happen to live here. We'll say, okay, well, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to bring mom lunch. And Tuesday, Thursday, I take her to cards and the doctor appointment. And we alternate who goes food shopping with her, because they couldn't get along without it before. So we write it down, and hopefully they stick to it because they've written it down and they believe it's a contract. And in the end, what we keep going back to when the parties really are fighting is, do you love mom? Is that why we're all here? And of course, they're going to say, yes, we love mom. We want the best for her. Okay, so let's come up with a solution that's the best for her. It's not about you guys. I mean, it is about what you can bring to the table, and we all have limits on the things that we can do. Okay, but you can't help on Wednesday? Well, then let's hire an aide for one day. We can afford that. We can't afford 2 days. We can afford one day. So it takes a lot of work and looking and budgets and deciding and scheduling, things like that. Or it might be more difficult than that. Maybe the mom really does need to move to a home and they don't have to do as much day to day, but they have to agree to that.
Right.
So, and sometimes it's a problem with the mom versus a child. They don't want to go and the other one wants them to go. So it's a lot of times, like you said, there's one big issue at stake. There's a decision that needs to be made. Something's happened. It's not just day-to-day living.
Okay.
There's kind of a crisis situation, and perhaps you see it. Someone comes to visit your facility, and they say, you could see one wants them to go, one doesn't want them to go, and they can't make a decision, and they're just stuck. And so for other professionals out there, the lawyers, the doctors, the people who have the home health care agencies who need to get in and help and make decisions, they can't get their work done because they're just stuck.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're
And
trying
that's
to
not
help
a good
move
place to be.
forward.
Stuck
No.
is not a good place to be.
Well, time is of the essence too. If there's a
That's
medical
true.
situation,
Or you're waiting too long, and then it causes
too
more
hard.
problems.
Right, and then there's an emergency.
Yes.
and in the dementia area, especially if you need to get legal documents done. We do not, I don't practice as an attorney any longer, and I'm not an elder law attorney, but we work with them a lot. But the documents have got to get done. It's so important. So if anyone out there in the early stages of dementia, but they're still with it, you have to get to the, get it taken care of while the person can still make those decisions.
Absolutely.
It's so important.
We kind of push that point all the time. Be prepared. Make sure you have your documents, your durable power of attorney, your healthcare surrogate, your living will. Make sure you get it. Make sure they're up to date. So we talk about that quite a bit because, it is time is of the essence, and things can happen. And if you don't have that, if you're not prepared, then you're really in a bad way. So this is good stuff. We're going to go to commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Court. Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know, we understand, we can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, and we're back, and we're talking about mediation. When families don't agree, what's a good course of action? A good course of action is to go to elder family mediation. And we have two experts with us. We have Suzanne Hale and we have Tina Scott Polsky. Thank you guys again for being here with us today.
Our pleasure.
We're talking about what happens when families disagree. So, and we also talked about how difficult it is to try to rein in all of these people with all of their issues, and your job is to kind of get them to at least compromise and come to an answer they can all agree on. Mm-hmm. So that's not easy because you're dealing with a lot of stuff, people's emotions, and just a lot of detail. So my question to both of you is, why do you want to do this kind of work?
So I've been practicing as a mediator for a long time, and I do the basic litigation, the things we talked about, the trials, general commercial litigation, we call it. And Suzanne does family law mediation, which is divorces, child custody, parent coordination. And we met at a course on elder care mediation as we were both trying to expand our education to include, other forms of mediation. And we did some research after meeting, and we saw that nobody was doing this
Really?
in South Florida, and we were amazed. And it seems to be going on a little bit across the country, just through internet searches, but it's not as active as we think it should be. So Suzanne and I thought about it, and she had quite a bit of family experience being caregiver. However, they were the exception rather than the rule, that they all got along. But we all knew, I have a family story of people not getting along, but ours occurred, unfortunately, after the death of my grandparents. And so we kind of put our heads together and said, this is an area that needs to be explored. And we know the demographic in Florida, and we know the upcoming demographic with the baby boomers aging. And we also know from our own other work the trend in at least the legal arena towards mediation and what they call alternative dispute resolution. And we just felt that we wanted to get on the ground floor of this and help families, because we both knew from our personal experience of families that don't speak to each other anymore. And I had it in my own instance. There's an uncle that is very difficult for me because of the way I felt that he treated my parents. And so we thought,
You figure if it happened to you, it's happening to other
of course.
families.
And we've
It's happening
heard
everywhere.
anecdotally
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
But based on the demographic here and everything, we just said, we can't believe this isn't being done.
Wow.
So we've spent the better part of a year educating the public about it, educating other professionals in the senior services field, speaking at a lot of things to try to let people know it's an option. And so for your audience, they may be having these problems, but they have no idea that this is an option.
Exactly.
And so that's what we're trying to do. And it just goes with our general mediation skills that we've developed, and we feel it's just another area to explore and to help people. And we think that there's a need socially, but professionally for us as well, that it's a great fit.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. What I actually think is also pretty cool is you are both Florida Supreme Court certified mediators.
That's correct.
Talk about that. Why Florida Supreme Court certification?
The Supreme Court is actually just the court system in Florida, and they regulate the mediators. So you have to take a 5-day course and observe many observations and continuing education requirements every 2 years to remain certified. So the Florida state has a list of certified mediators, and then that enables the court to put you on to a mediation if you're certified. So that's really for our other mediation roles that we both do separately. For elder care, it's not, as we've said, it's not dictated by the court.
Because sometimes it's not a legal issue.
Correct.
Right,
Okay.
right.
It
So
doesn't
that
have
would
to
be
be-
the distinction,
Right.
whether it's a legal issue through the court,
Right.
which you would then be
Right.
needing to be Florida Supreme Court certified,
Right.
so that the court could accept
Right.
the outcome, so to speak,
Right.
of the mediation.
And they know the experience and the qualifications that are required to be certified.
Right.
And then this kind of mediation is more like you could either have an attorney refer us, someone in the senior services field, a geriatric care manager, anyone can refer, or an individual, someone listening could say, our family needs this and let me get in touch. You don't have to have an attorney. It doesn't have to be anything within the legal system. It's just that our background in that enables us to understand the framework for mediation and what could potentially become an issue. And I kind of like to view it as I said in my personal family example, there's a whole area of probate when the elder passes and then the fighting really begins. What we like to say is we try to mediate while the person is alive and can still see the good results of the family getting along. And you could prevent a lot of the probate problems if you're able to either change something in a will, for example, that needs to be changed, or the family understands why the will is the way the will is. And you kind of get all those issues out and dealt with ahead of time, or there's not so much animosity that they fight with each other no matter what, just because they're mad at each other after the eventual death. So as far as, hiring a mediator and trying to resolve issues, thinking it's, going to be too expensive or it's too much or we don't want to go through it, just think about what could happen afterwards when the probate comes out and then the real fighting begins,
Right,
and the real expense.
And the real expense. So speaking of expense, speaking of money, I have a question. Is this something that Medicare pays for?
No, it's just a private
Okay, so it's
situation.
private pay. All
Yes.
right, so it's not like a therapy where if it was an actual therapy, sometimes Medicare pays for that. So we're
Right.
talking about the difference between like a social worker therapy type of a.
No.
It's much more akin to hiring an attorney.
Okay.
You pay by the hour, and we do the preparation and the day of the mediation and the follow-up.
Okay.
And it's kind of an enclosed situation. It doesn't go on and on. Just because they might be curious, in the end, it would probably, the average price is a few $1,000s for the whole thing.
Depending
which-
on how big your problem is, right?
Well, it depends. If it takes a crazy amount of time, but if it's a typical family situation that we've seen, and this has been kind of the number that we've dealt with a lot, that it's, most of it, better part of a day of mediation and preparation that we do is 3 to 5 hours, something along those lines, and a little bit of follow-up afterwards to see, or if we can't resolve it and we need more, then it's more. But it's, we like to say for a few $1,000s to save a family is not a lot to ask
Yeah,
for.
you know what, to restore that relationship.
And just to be clear, I mean, when we come on these kinds of shows, we're not trying to promote us, Elder Care Mediations, the company. Of course, we love the business, but we're trying to promote the concept, and it just so happens that we don't know anyone else doing this. So if someone is interested, then we'd love to talk to them. Our website is eldercaremediations.com. But we are, we're available. We talk to people all the time about these situations and offer advice. But there's really no one doing it. So I think it's going to grow. But it just happens to be us right now.
Well, I think it's a great thing that you're doing. I have a question. What if you have two daughters and they disagree about what mom should go into, let's say, a dementia assisted living, and one daughter is local and one, let's say, lives in New Jersey, and they're disagreeing, and the one daughter says mom's not ready and one says yes she is, and they're fighting amongst themselves, and there might be a little jealousy going on there, a little animosity. The daughter who's not here, who's up north, might say, well, you just want to get rid of mom because it'd make it easier for you. And the one who's here taking care of the day-to-day with mom said, you don't understand because I'm taking her here, 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 and here.
This is such a typical scenario.
And the trying to make the daughter up north understand what the local daughter is doing, and they're really bickering back and forth all the time. So let's say that these two daughters agreed to have elder law mediation, but one's far away and one is local. How would you handle that? Because maybe the one in New Jersey doesn't want to come to Florida.
Well,
Can you do it on the telephone?
We encourage them to come down because there's something about being in a room face to face, and if mom is well enough to be in the room as well, maybe not for the whole time, but there's just something about that. But if not, we can do it through Skype, bringing one person in.
On the computer and Skype it, so you can at least be
But we
face to.
prefer to have, we can do all the prep work, and if they could just get down for one day, because generally the actual mediation won't take more than a day.
And it's been our experience with all kinds of mediation that there's something about the day of mediation, the process of it, the sitting there for most of the day, the kind of wearing down of positions, the understanding the other side of it, the seeing the other side. Maybe I'm not always right. Maybe there is something to the other side. There's something about physically being there. And it's amazing that you start the day thinking they're on such polar opposite sides, but they do come together. And there's something psychological about being together. And I think it's very important. And if they're willing to hire us, I think they're able to fly down here for a short time. And again, we go back to, let's find a time that works for you. I know you love your mother. You need to be here for this. This is important. If she was sick, you'd come down.
Right.
So this is mental health. This is very important.
Right.
The mom is suffering because you guys are fighting.
Right.
But in this situation, like one thing we could do in that situation is try to get the medical information that we can ahead of time. And we would never sit there in the mediation and say, oh, it does seem like she needs to go. But if we have the medical information, we could even have a medical professional be there if they give us permission. They can offer their opinion. And then it's not coming from one sister or the other. The other thing we can do is ahead of the mediation, we could say, would you guys agree to get a geriatric care manager in? You pick a totally neutral person who can evaluate, and let's look at her suggestions, and let's use that as a basis for going forward.
So let's say that they are not disagreeing that mom has dementia and that, yes, she needs extra help, but one daughter wants to place the mom into a dementia-assisted living, and the other daughter, the one up north, let's say she wants mom to stay at home with 24-hour care.
Right.
And that's the two polar opposites, because they both agree, yes, mom has dementia, yes, mom needs extra help, but now they're disagreeing on where mom should live.
Well, if they're all in the same room and we can sit down, or the two sisters in the same room, we can sit down and we can find out why. Why do you think she needs to go someplace, and why do you think she needs to stay home? And then we can pull it all together for them and say, well, these are the advantages of this and these are the advantages of that. And some, as I said before, it's that neutral party saying, it sounds to me like this is going to be more cost efficient and this might be safer for mom. Do you think that maybe you could budge on this a little bit. Like, you think you can understand it. Maybe could you go over and see the facility? Maybe if you toured the facility, but if the sister says it to her, she's not going to hear it because now she's already got her back up. She's angry, so there's really something about having somebody else come in and say those things.
Yeah. And I would just add that we could have a financial professional lay out which one costs of either option. That might be the deciding factor. And a medical professional who would be able to say which they thought was better and then evaluate that at the mediation.
Right. And this case that I just told you about, it's actually was a real case. And I don't think finances entered into it, but what you just said caused me to remember another situation where one sibling didn't want dad to go into a community assisted living with his dementia because it was going to, how did he put it? He actually said it to me over the phone, and if I could have reached through the phone and choked him, I probably would have. I don't want to spend all my inheritance.
Yeah.
And
most people won't say that out loud.
Well, he did on the telephone
yes,
to me.
But it is very often a money issue. And just one example, there's one son who's living with the parent, and he's got his own bedroom. He comes and goes as he pleases, and he doesn't have any reason to go anywhere because why should he spend the money?
Life is good here, right.
Life is good. But the other siblings really think it's time for mom to move and for him to move out. Not necessarily to move into an assisted living, but, she doesn't need this big house and she really doesn't need him there, that kind of thing. And they really want him out. So, we all get together and we bring out all the finances and we figure it all out. And in the end, it worked out that the compromise was that we were able to sell a big house, and Mom was able to buy a smaller place where she could have someone come in and help her a little bit, and she still had enough money to buy a small place down the road for her son to live in. So he was no longer on the couch. She was getting the kind of care that the other siblings thought that she needed, and,
So that turned out to be a good compromise.
Yeah, but no, they wouldn't have thought of it on their own.
Yeah, because you have to be creative sometimes. I mean, nothing is always black and white. I mean, when you're dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's and caregiving, it's not black and white. There's so many ifs, ands, and buts that enter into it. You have to be creative to come up with the resolution.
Right.
And it's always changing. I mean, that's like we said, time is of the essence, and you see the problems and trying to fix the problems ahead of time. The dementia is only going in one direction. So to try to get on top of it before it really becomes a problem is so important.
Right. I just couldn't believe that this adult child actually said to me,
out loud.
That's out loud. He wasn't face to face because it was on the phone, but he actually verbalized that he didn't want to spend his inheritance. And I just said to him, I said, look, your parents, this is what they work for their whole life. This is what they save for, to be able to have the funds to take care of themselves when they, reached a certain point in their life. And that's, what that money is for.
Right.
And obviously, I always said if, people raise their children the right way where they can be independent and be out on their own, then, you wouldn't have these. But obviously there's things that happen in life, and, some people are more needy than others. And so I think you're always going to have that. So I think you're always going to have business. That's what I can say about it. Because
and, there's always one sibling who has more money than the other, and, so they can call names. You just want mom's inheritance. You don't care, about mom. And it very often it comes down to money, unfortunately.
But there's jealousy, a lot of jealousy involved in this. Yeah. So when you get people together, is it you have an office they come to, or do you ever go into the homes themselves?
We do both.
You do both?
Whatever the need is. We have a neutral conference center that we can use that's kind of more formal, and people dress and they take it a little more seriously, like as if they were going to visit the lawyer's office or the accountant's office. And we kind of want people to be in that frame of mind.
But if it's too much and the older person really wants to be there and is capable of being there and it's too much for them, we can do it in the home.
And it can also make the older person feel much more comfortable to be in their home. They don't want to be scared of these strangers, and we want them to feel comfortable and be able to talk to us about what they need, because it's really what it's all about.
Well, I
of
think
course.
you're very easy to talk to. But I understand what you're saying
But
because
it's-
it's a life-changing situation
It is, and
sometimes.
it's an uncomfortable situation because these are their children, and they're watching their children fight. And I know for myself, nothing hurts me more than when my children don't get along. You know, I want to leave this planet knowing that my children are there for each other forever. You know, and I think most parents feel that way. So it doesn't matter if you're 90 or if you're, my age.
Young.
Exactly.
Have you ever had a situation where it could not be resolved?
Yes.
You
I mean, we have to be honest. It's not a perfect situation.
I would be doubtful if you said no,
Yeah.
because not that you're not good, it's just that some
Well, of
people
course,
are
some-
so stubborn.
Yeah.
They're so stubborn you
Yeah.
can't move them, you know?
And some people just think that, they're litigious. They just think that they can take it to a lawyer and the lawyer can fix it. But some of these things are really not lawyer issues, so they're just, well, I'm not compromising, and that's usually the one that has lots of money, who can afford to hire lawyers, and it's not really a lawyer issue.
Right, there's really not legal action involved in a family dispute like this, unless they're saying that the mom doesn't know what she's doing, so I'm going for guardianship. But guardianship is such a difficult, long, expensive process. And then again, they're going to be fighting over who's the guardian. And if the family can't agree on one, then the court's going to appoint a professional. So that's an outsider who's dictating
Right.
the financial decisions for your loved one.
Right, and we've talked about guardianship, and we've had guardians on the program before, and we've had geriatric care managers, so it all ties together.
ties together.
And, but what you said is if they can't agree, if you can't, in mediation, get them to come to that compromise, then maybe an alternative is the point guardianship, and that's going to cost a lot of
Yeah.
money.
And it takes a lot of time, and time is of the essence. That's the beautiful thing about mediation, that it can be done in a few days, few weeks, that kind of thing.
But if you do choose mediation, it doesn't stop you from any kind of legal path afterwards. It's just, it's similar to, like I said, visiting a lawyer or visiting a social worker. It's just an option to try to figure out how your family can work better together. So anything that if someone is very litigious and it doesn't work out, they're not precluding a legal option. They can go ahead and do that afterwards. No court's going to get involved.
Yeah,
in
but
what
this
we're
should be
doing.
the prerequisite.
It should be.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's one of the things that they're arguing about is that, mom made her, power of attorney, and I really should be power of attorney, and, but because she doesn't live here, and so on. And that's one of the things they're fighting about. So in the end, we will be sending them off to a lawyer to repair,
Right, because if that's the issue and you need an attorney to do it, then
Exactly.
you get them involved when it's
Right.
necessary.
And if they have an attorney that they're already working with, they should come to the mediation, because then they'll be able to take the advice of the attorney and listen to all the issues, and it might be easier to come to a solution.
Right, right. We're going to take our last commercial break, and we'll be right back with Tina and Suzanne.
Do you need
Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know, we understand, we can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden. Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to
or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
And we're back talking about elder law mediation with Suzanne Hale and Tina Scott-Polsky from Elder Care Mediations. This has been great, guys. I mean, you guys are awesome. I'm so happy that you do what you do to help families. So if you've heard the girls, the women, my friends here talking about mediation and you say, gee, that might be something my family can use, can they just give you a call? And if so, how do they contact you?
Sure, they can go to our website, which is eldercaremediations.com, or our phone number is 561-408-0001, 408-0001. And you can email us on the website, you can call us, you can get some information on examples of cases we've used and how we think that it's different types of situations where mediation can be beneficial. So, feel free to look around that. We have resources on there. If
Wonderful.
you have other questions.
Lots of resources.
That's wonderful. So give them a call, and they'll be happy to talk to you about what they can do for your family. In the meantime, call Art and Courts at 888-478-2410 to get your free 36-hour day book. Thank you again for being with us today. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, next week, same time, same place. In the meantime, don't forget, give someone a hug because they need it and so do you. Take care.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teele. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.